If there's something we can take home from this chapter that we can absolutely learn, is that Oda is letting us know, hey, don't sleep on the supernovas. Don't do it. Don't sleep on any of the worst gen. Remember when people were sleeping or dismissing Urouge? Then we found out he was able to take down a commander, and everybody was riding that hype train when Urouge came in. All right, now it seems like he's kind of doing the same thing with Capone, giving him a little bit of the spotlight, learning more about his character as well. So don't sleep on the worst gen. They're the worst gen for a reason. Now, before this, the title of the chapter is called Brook. I thought Boa looked like Robin in the cover page. I guess maybe because of the shades. But anyway, the title of Rook goes to Capone. As we found out, and we've been learning, Big Mom uses a hierarchy that's kind of like based off of chess pieces. So here it is right now. We have the pawns who are less valuable. Obviously, we know that Tamago was described with the title of knight. Bobbin actually held the title of bishop, so that can kind of tell you where they fit in the ranks. But Capone is the rook, so I don't know what he needed to do to prove to Big Mom that he could be that high up the ladder. But whatever, well, he did marry into the family. But the thing is, like, Big Mom put him in charge of security for the Tea Party. He's like the Secret Service. Nobody touches the president unless it's through the Secret Service. So what Jinbei is saying by the end to Luffy is like, you know, Luffy, we have a problem with the Yonko, but if we become friendly or if we ally ourselves with the Secret Service, that opens up a lot of doors, right? Especially because we kind of have like similar objectives, not too similar. Because I mean, Capone straight up wants to take down Big Mom, and I do remember that when he shot Peckham's into the lake, Peckham's told him not to underestimate Big Mom. So narratively speaking, it makes no sense for Peckham's to have that warning and then Capone to just be successful. So I really think if Capone tries to take Big Mom's head by himself, he's going to get massively wrecked. Massively. It's not even funny. However, another possibility exists because by the end of this chapter, we find out that Vito was the one who gunned down Bobbin. All right? And regardless of what that makes Bobbin, whether he's trash or not, there is a more important part of the story here that's revealed, and that's the possibility of Capone's men, all right, making some type of an alliance with not just Luffy, but the Vinsmokes as well. Because Vito says by the end of this chapter, you know, the Vinsmokes are my heroes. That's why I stopped Bobbin's ass from, attacking Sanji. So the Vinsmokes, Big Mom wants to murder the Vinsmokes. The Vinsmokes obviously don't want that. The fire tanks want to take down Big Mom. You see how, like, you know, these goals, even though they're not exactly the same, have a commonality. There's a common denominator between what Luffy wants, what Sanji wants, what the Vinsmokes want, and what Capone wants. And I know a lot of people would make the automatic assumption that the main goal of these three parties is to take down Big Mom. That could be the case, but there's not enough evidence to suggest that that's what all three of them want to do right now. We know Capone wants to do it, but the main goal, the thing that all of these three parties can agree on as of right now is to protect the Vinsmokes at the wedding. Just don't fuck with the Vinsmokes, all right? And so whether or not that goal evolves into them trying to take down Big Mom at the wedding, that remains to be seen. Luffy did mention that he had the urge or he wanted to fight her somewhere down the line, somewhere in the future, and I don't know if it could be the wedding. But regardless, I think, whether or not Big Mom falls this arc or doesn't, the truth of the matter is that there is enough chaos guaranteed to happen at the wedding for the Straw Hats to make their escape. That is now 100% guaranteed. Personally, I don't think Big Mom is following this arc. I really don't, especially not based off of what Jinbei said in this chapter. He said basically the ministers that you guys met were just the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be a lot of top tier dudes in this freaking wedding. Now, I don't know where the hell these top tier dudes would be coming from. Maybe they're out at sea. Is Katakuri at the island? I don't know. I just made the assumption that he was already there. And then he also says the brokers. He says the emperors of the underworld, which means to me the brokers that were watching the live stream, the live feed back in Punk Hazard. They were all shaded. They were covered in shadows and shit. So I'm pretty sure I just want to see Croco Boy up in this bitch. Crocodile, come into Cold Cake Island, please. That would be freaking amazing. And as far as we know, it's not like the brokers have any type of loyalty towards Big Mom, all right? They're just going because they got the invitation. It's like, yeah, it's a party. Fuck, let's go. Let's go. But they're not really under Big Mom. They're just there for the party. So can you imagine how amazing it would be to have this shot of the Sunny, Luffy riding the Sunny, all right? Meanwhile, in the back, he's being backed up by Capone and his men, the fire tank pirates, Jinbei, the Fishman Pirates or the Sun Pirates on the ocean. Maybe possibly Germa 66 with their army of clones. Reiju is probably going to be with them at that point. And also, like, some of the brokers, like Crocoboy there just to back him up. Oi, Mugiwara. Oh, man, that would be freaking intense. Like, and that's going to make Wano even more of an actual war arc. And another thing that I mentioned was, don't sleep on the supernovas. Literally, the only person that we're missing here in terms of like going into Wano, because I do think that Wano is going to be the year of the 11 supernovas. We only need Bonnie. Like, Urouge already made his move up against Big Mom. Capone wants to take her head. We only need to know where Bonnie stands and we can go. We can leave this bitch, go up to Wano and start shit with Kaido. This is insane. Just imagine how epic, it would be if Luffy were on a ship, right, sailing off to Wano, and you have all these alliances sailing behind him, like just backing him up. That is some Game of Thrones type shit. That is some epic type of shit. And Mihawk was absolutely correct. He was 100% correct about Luffy's power. He said at Marineford, Luffy's greatest power is that he can make an ally out of everyone he meets. And oh boy. So we're not leaving Whole Cake Island empty-handed in terms of people. I guarantee you that. Also, since it's pretty much confirmed by this chapter that Big Mom uses the chess piece hierarchy, all right, I'm pretty sure this also confirms that Kaido uses the suit of cards, the card hierarchy, right? He's the king, Jack is obviously the Jack, Doflamingo was the Joker. I've said this before and so have a lot of people. I think Drake, X being the Roman numeral for 10, and DS Drake, DS meaning 10. I think Drake is obviously the 10 under that card hierarchy. So don't sleep on Drake, man. Don't sleep on any of the supernovas, because at this point it does kind of seem like Drake is kind of like the equivalent of what Capone is under Big Mom at this point. What a freaking way to come back from the break, Oda. That is just absolutely fantastic. Also, the art looked really good in this chapter. I don't want to get into pairing shit here, because that's not a big part of One Piece. It never has been. But I will say that there seems to be, given the way that Sanji and Nami interacted over the mirror, like their conversation, there seems to be some type of development there for both of their characters, at least in tone. That's something. Just the dialogue felt a little bit different than their usual conversations, and then by the end, like Sanji kind of reverts back to himself by being like, "Nami, are you proposing to me?" And then the hard eye. So that was kind of a like, oh well, whatever. He's back to himself. But I did notice that there was a change in tone in terms of the way that they addressed each other, especially after this arc. Nami pulls a Naruto in this chapter. She even tells him, "I'm gonna drag your ass back, Sanji." And Luffy in this chapter tells Sanji, Nami and Co were the people that were most worried about you. So not only that, but when Luffy says, "Yeah, we're thinking about sticking around, for the wedding," like everybody on the other side of that mirror was freaking out. They're like, "Big Mom," and then they're cut off by Sanji. And after Sanji explains the situation, they are so happy. They're like, "Yeah, you're back, Sanji." Like they didn't even care. Like their bond or them caring for Sanji completely overshadowed their fear of going up against a Yonko. So it just shows how much they care about Sanji. And also, I liked the gag with Jinbei counting Brule and Diesel as one of their own. It's like, it's only 10 of us. And Brule's in the background like, "Fuck you, no it's not." That was really funny. Also, a lot of people have been discussing what could Jinbei's role be if he were to join the crew. And it sounds like, he can be the negotiator, the diplomat, the strategist. Because, he had a lot of knowledge in the situation and not only that, he rescued like Nami and Luffy from the prison. So yeah, there's a role for him. Oda can come up with a role if he really wanted him to join by the end of this arc. That being said, I also want to say that I think it makes sense for why, from an ideological standpoint, it makes sense why Capone really wouldn't have a problem with Germa 66, because as we find out in this chapter, Capone was one of the 5 mafia families that was trying to fight over power to see who could rule the West Blue. Meanwhile, Judge, alongside Germa 66, is pushing to conquer and rule over the North Blue. So there's an ideological similarity between him and Capone in terms of taking shit by force and being violent while obtaining power. So I wonder who wants to take over the South Blue. No, but anyway, the whole thing with Capone, like his backstory, that was some gruesome shit. I mean, he got pleasure out of decapitating animals. I mean, he's savage, but he's like sick in the head, man. That's some crazy shit. That's why Luffy was skeptical at first. And there's actually a shift, if you notice, because Luffy at first he says like, "I'll never forgive him," and then by the end, might give it a shot just to see what he has to say, what his offer is. By the end, again, Godfather shit. I'm gonna make Mugiwara an offer he can't refuse. That's it for me. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I thought this chapter was freaking great. Like the video, like the review if you did. That really helps out the channel, and also subscribing helps out. If you haven't, I do One Piece reviews every Thursday with the chapters, so subscribe, and thank you.